What do you get when a mad science professor creates an alternate version of himself? If you said Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, you'd be correct, but you'd also be getting the Nutty Professor. The Nutty Professor movies are amazing. The Jerry Lewis one and the Eddie Murphy too. Technically, there's 2 Jerry Lewis movies also, but we'll get to that later. We're going to dive into why these movies are great, differences between them, and just overall commentate on them. So let's start where it all began. Jerry Lewis's The Nutty Professor, released back in 1963, is a classic comedy movie. Lewis, who not only directed but also starred in the film, showcases his comedic mastery in a way that only he could. The story revolves around Professor Julius Kelp, a socially awkward and clumsy character who gets bullied by a student of his and then starts crushing on another. After stumbling upon a miraculous formula, he transforms into the smooth and confident Buddy Love. And leading up to him turning into Buddy, there's this one scene where he turns into a monster, and I'm not gonna lie, when I was 6, this scared the grapes out of me. The fake grapes, that is. Then they do this long shot from his point of view, and you think he's going to be some disgusting creature, but he appears as the Frank Sinatra-esque lover boy. Lewis's performance is nothing short of spectacular, seamlessly transitioning between the lovable nerd and the arrogant charmer. The film cleverly satirizes societal expectations while delving into themes of self-acceptance. Lewis's physical comedy and impeccable timing have a timeless quality, making The Nutty Professor a classic. It's a testament to Lewis's comedic brilliance and a must-watch for anyone who appreciates good humor and a bit of social commentary. Some people consider The Nutty Professor to be Jerry Lewis's magnum opus. I'd argue it's tough to pick between that and Cinderfella, but they're probably right. Then there's the supporting characters. Stella Purdy, played by Stella Stevens, who, fun fact, was married to Bob Kulick. Sorry, I don't know how that was relevant. Stella is the love interest. She falls for Buddy Love, but also resents him at the same time. He's a total jerk to her, but yet she can't stop coming back to him. And then there's the Dean of Students, by far one of the best characters in the movie. He's got a bipolar temper that's so offbeat and irregular that you can't help but laugh.
Oh, yes, really? What did he have to say?
Well, he said he's feeling much better and that the bandages should be off in about 2 weeks.
Oh, well, come... Exactly! That's exactly what I mean. You are a menace.
Then Buddy Love shows up and makes an ass out of him. This movie may feel dated at times though, like really dated. They use old terms like he's a gasser and nonsense like if I were your baby I'd be swinging from a tree. Yeah. Overall, the story is a great example of why you should really just be yourself while throwing in laughs occasionally. With that being said, what about the Eddie Murphy version? Eddie Murphy's take on The Nutty Professor brings a fresh spin to the classic tale. Released in 1996, this comedic masterpiece showcases Murphy's unmatched talent as he steps into the shoes of the professor now named Sherman Klump, a brilliant but overweight man. The transformation scenes, where Murphy also plays Klump's family members, are nothing short of cinematic magic. Murphy's ability to switch between characters is just amazing. Each character feels like a real person. The characters he plays are Sherman, Ernie, Cletus, Mama, Grandma, Buddy Love, and Lance Perkins. Wait, what? Beyond the laughs, the film cleverly addresses issues of self-esteem and acceptance, adding a layer of heart to the hilarity. The modernized setting and cultural references give the story a contemporary feel while maintaining the essence of the original. In the original, Julius gets beat up by a student. In this one, Sherman gets made fun of by Dave Chappelle. Then he comes back as Buddy Love and beats him. Wait a minute. 2 comedians, Jada Pinkett Smith, fight on a stage. Haven't I seen this before?
Keep my wife's name out your f***ing mouth!
In this movie, Buddy Love is more wild. He's not calm and cool at all. He shows up, lives life to the extreme, and is a bit more of an asshole. This movie is also way more vulgar, and I think the daydream sequences are done better. But I think the most powerful moment of this film comes from Sherman's fight to be himself. Throughout the flick, he watches exercising on TV and says, "Yes, I can," heroically. But at the end, during the fight to get Buddy Love out, he triumphantly conquers with a big, "Yes, I can!" And I think that's just brilliant. I also love the idea of the 2 sides fighting like this. In the original, Buddy turns back into Julius and that's it. In this one, Sherman conquers Buddy Love, showing he had an inner strength all along and it was just a fight to get there. But what about the sequel? Eddie Murphy's return to the big screen in Nutty Professor 2: The Klumps offers a hilarious continuation of the story. Released in 2000, the film sees Murphy reprising his role as the lovable but bumbling Professor Sherman Klump. What sets this sequel apart is the expansion of the Klump family, with Murphy portraying various family members through impressive and seamless special effects. Like most of the time you just stop in awe to see it. The comedic chemistry within the Klump household adds a new layer of humor, and Murphy's ability to bring each character to life is just flawless. While the film retains the original slapstick humor, it also introduces some clever twists and turns in the storyline. Nutty Professor 2 doesn't just rely on the success of its predecessor, it carved its own niche by blending Murphy's trademark humor with a touch of heart. Buddy Love escapes Sherman, and now we get to see the Professor and Buddy at the same time, and that idea is excellent. Although Buddy Love has dog DNA in him and he's evil in this one. And I never thought of the character Buddy Love being evil originally, but surprisingly it works. Also, Janet Jackson is in this one, and they really did her dirty with this EP cover. Janet Jackson doesn't really matter? Now hear me out. Of the two Eddie Murphy Nutty Professors, the first one is good, but number 2 is definitely my favorite. There's more laughs to go around in my opinion. Seriously, this movie does not let up on the continuous goofiness. Nutty Professor facing the fear. Oh, God. When you first look at this movie, it looks like one of those mockbuster type movies like Ratatouille or f***ing Chop Kick Panda. This movie came out in 2008 and is supposed to be a sequel to the 1963 Jerry Lewis movie. Starring Jerry Lewis and Drake Campana, the story follows Julius Kelp's grandson, Harold Kelp. You didn't think I was going to create a clever joke for Drake Bell, but I found a way. Speaking of, hit that motherfucking bell to be part of the Van Fam. Back to the point. When I say motorcycle racing, horny robots, aliens, and a futuristic university, what comes to mind? Cyberpunk? The Super Mario Bros. Movie? David Bowie? Ursula from Grand Theft Auto 5? Right, anything except for the Nutty Professor. This movie feels like a fever dream. It's also very fast paced, so much so that half the time I don't even know what the hell is happening. The animation styles between 3D and 2D aren't bad, and there are some funny and entertaining moments, but most of the time I'm just thinking, what the f***? You have Drake Bell's character turning into a stud with the Buddy Love formula at the futuristic looking college. Except he's just Josh, which is kinda funny because he almost becomes Josh Cheese. Josh Cheese. What? Once that happens, Drake Bell drops his nerdy voice and he starts acting like a creepy jerk towards everyone and especially towards the ladies. This is another one I think I've seen before. There's one scene in particular where Harold Kelp forces the robot to open the formula and she feels violated, which feels a bit unsettling. Also, f*** Harold's glasses, I hate them. But anyways, one part I really did like was Buddy Love just poofing into existence with no explanation of how Julius could do that. But what I really don't like about this sequel is, turning into Jack really plays out like a drug addiction for Harold. The way he lays on the floor and craves the substance just feels too heavy for a children's movie, if that's what it is. Seeing this movie isn't really necessary. It's okay, but it's definitely the weakest one of the previous 3. Nutty Professor movie takes us on a hilarious journey, from Jerry Lewis's classic in 1963 to Eddie Murphy's modernized takes in 1996 and 2000. Lewis's original is the perfect blend of poking fun at society and discovering oneself through the lovable nerd, Professor Julius Kelp. Murphy adds his own spice, introducing us to Sherman Klump, an overweight genius with a heart of gold. The sequel, Nutty Professor 2: The Klumps, keeps the laughs coming with clever twists. But then there's the 2008 edition, Nutty Professor Facing the Fear, which, let's be real, it's a bit of a head scratcher. It throws us into a futuristic world that feels like a fever dream. Funny at times, but not quite hitting the mark. Despite that hiccup though, these movies, with their crazy characters and laugh out loud transformations, leave us with a smile and a reminder to just be ourselves. Crime!